Arthur Dong joins me now to offer his perspective on this growing confrontation over tariffs. He is a professor at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. Let me get your take on this. I mean, tariffs, the president, he's doing something. That's the appearance. He's taking a decisive stand. Yeah, but this is really complicated. You've got complicated supply chains, and it seems sort of like a simplistic solution to a rather complex issue. Is that a good take on things?
Yeah, certainly. China has had, for the greater part of the last 20 years or more, wide and open access to the U.S. marketplace. We also observed that in previous election cycles, whether it was during the presidency of President Clinton or Bush, during their campaigns, they've demonized China. And then once they came into office, they stepped back from that. What we see now is a different animal altogether. Trump not only spoke of the in-trade imbalances between the United States and China, but now he is going to act.
One of the things I read recently is that the recent U.S. tax cuts actually could grow this deficit between the U.S. and China, that one of the things he's touting is actually going to create even more of this mess that he's describing.
Certainly there's going to be unintended consequences as a result of this sort of paradigm shift and the demonization of China and the sort of shift in trade posture with regard to U.S.-China trade relations.
We heard the guy in the manufacturing firm saying, look, you know, these tariffs are going to end up, the American consumers are going to want these products. They're going to end up paying the tariffs. Talk to me about this trickle down. Who actually is impacted? I mean, companies are impacted, people are impacted, the economy's impacted. Give me like the full breadth of it.
Without a doubt, there are definitely going to be some winners and losers as a result of this change in policy. The American consumer, largely, you know, there are very few things that we either don't consume in our homes or use on a daily basis that in some way involve China. And if these tariffs are indeed imposed, it will certainly place a cost. And it'll fall on the shoulders, actually, on those that actually voted for Mr. Trump, those at the low to moderate income spectrum in the United States, who really, you know, have a greater buying power as a result of buying goods from China.
It's interesting, soybean farmers from Iowa are in China right now, nervous. Terry Branstad, the former governor of Iowa, is now the ambassador for the U.S. Soybeans, a big, big piece of the Midwest. Those are Trump voters, but they could be impacted if China decides to close the door on that. They can get those soybeans from Brazil.
And the irony is it's going to hurt many of those that are core Trump constituents that voted for him. They're going to be the ones that are going to be most effective and affected very, very dramatically as China dials back its import of U.S. grain, soybean, corn, and all manner of agricultural commodity.
Action, reaction. We already heard China reacting to the steel, aluminum tariffs. How does this thing escalate? I mean, you watch this. You're at the business school. You've seen this play out before in the past. What are we likely to see?
What I do like is I'm sensing that China is leaving a little bit room for an opportunity for negotiation. Their initial sort of reaction has been somewhat moderated. They're not going, you know, they're not going tit for tat and saying we're going to slap the United States with $60 billion of equivalent tariffs. They're leaving some room for negotiation. And what I'd like to see, and I think what will prevail, is that cooler heads will prevail, and that behind the scenes, both sides will conduct and engage in a more thoughtful conversation about sort of the rebalancing and the resetting of this trade relationship between the United States and China.
Arthur Dong, thanks so much for your analysis. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.